everybody, this is Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here today, as usual, and I'm here to talk to you about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yes, the ninth Quentin Tarantino movie, supposedly his second to last movie. I don't believe him. And the newest sort of original movie out in theaters. Like, it's not a superhero movie. It doesn't have any stupid feminist agenda in it. It's just a great story and a great movie to review. And wow, it is a surprisingly good movie. It is a character-driven movie, and I'm not going to spoil anything in this review, but it's a character-driven movie. It has a lot of comedy, it has a lot of action, it has a lot of drama, suspense. There are a lot of great things about the movie. The movie started off, and I was a little hesitant. It started off a little slow, but then it seemed like it didn't care. Like, it was just going to do its thing and tell this story how it needed to be told. To have these characters in these situations and force you to sit through them. And I enjoyed it more and more and more. And finally, I actually came to appreciate all of the character and world building that they were doing in the first part of the movie. There was a lot of stuff in it, a lot. And a lot of character stuff, especially. First off, you have Leonardo DiCaprio. And he is playing sort of a down-and-out actor who is always getting cast as the bad guy, and he's just kind of he used to be a good actor, and he's just not the thing anymore. And he's trying to come to terms with that, but at the same time, he's like trying to reinvigorate his acting skills and make people realize that he actually is a fantastic actor. And those are a lot of the actors that Quentin Tarantino has worked with in the past, actually. You could describe them like that. And then you have Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. And guys, I've not really seen Brad Pitt in many movies. I've seen him in like The Big Short. That's like the only one I can think of. Oh yeah, Inglourious Basterds. Those are the only ones I can think of. And I didn't really like him, except in Inglourious Basterds I did. And so I wasn't really excited about him in this movie, but he was actually the star of the show. He was so cool, and he just soothed confidence, and he he was confidence incarnate, and he was badass. He was an action star. He was everything. He's just the stunt guy, and he's probably the coolest character ever invented in a movie. And I know that's a little exaggerating to some people, but I'm serious. There's not one scene in this movie where you just don't think, I feel sorry for that guy who's about to get beaten up right now, or just I hope they don't have to deal with him. And so they were really the stars of the show. There was a lot of controversy about Margot Robbie, about her not having enough lines as the males in the movie, not being in it enough as the males in the movie. Let me tell you something. They could have cut out like 80% of her scenes. In fact, I heard that Quentin Tarantino actually added in more scenes that he had already cut out because of dissenters like that who said stuff like that. And I think that he made a mistake. That's the only flaw of this movie. I think that she should not really have been in it as much as she should have, as that she was. Every time she was on screen, it was like kind of like, is this like a transition scene, or what is it supposed to lead to? Is it just kind of baiting us? Like, I just didn't know what they were doing. But there were some scenes that were crucial. And also, to talk about the feet there were 5 shots of feet in this movie. And now the thing is, I'm not counting shots where, like, it's the same person, but they varied the different shots and different angles. I'm just counting 5 different feet. And whoa. If you like feet, you're going to like this movie. And I don't really want to talk about anything else, but it is a very sexy movie. And it has one certain scene, and it's worth it just to see that on the big screen, personally, as a male. I'll just say that. And and so this movie, at first, everyone really talked about it as like the Manson movie, but then you see the trailer, it is not a Manson movie whatsoever. But it has hints of the Mansons in it. They're definitely an undertone. They're kind of like the evil things underneath the surface of the movie. And this movie is just really more about the industry and really more about this friendship that's in these two people who sort of rely on each other. And I love that. I love the acting in this movie. I love the chemistry. And I love everything about it besides some of the Margot Robbie scenes. And if there's anything else, I don't really think there is. So I'm going to go ahead and give this my rating, and then I'll have to you the spoiler discussions on Monday, maybe Tuesday too. So I give this a surf and turf with a filet mignon. Oh yeah, and the soundtrack. The soundtrack to this movie is magnificent. If you like the soundtrack for Bad Times at the El Royale, you're going to love this one too. It actually has some of the music from Bad Times at the El Royale. It was beautiful. Beautiful. And I remember I was sad that I couldn't see Bad Times in theaters. I didn't get to see it, and it had all that beautiful music. This movie did, and boy, it made up for it. So, oh yeah, and then Dakota Fanning, she was in it, and she did a really good job. And, I never said she was a bad actress completely, but I just had the feeling from The Alienist, she just needs the good script and the good directing. The directing and the script was the problem. She was not the problem. She is a great actress, and I hope that she gets in as good things as she did with this, because she did a great job. So I'm sorry, Dakota. I spoke out of line when I said you were a complete bad actress. You are not at all a bad actress. So, anyway, sorry. Back to my rating. This movie, I couldn't... It was hard to even think of what genre you could call it, because it goes into a lot of different genres, and there's one sequence where it's just one genre, and then another sequence that's one genre, and it's really a mix. And so that's what this meal is, kind of. It's like a weird mix of all these things that you love. And this movie really feels like a love letter from Quentin Tarantino to all of his fans that have stuck around this long to watch him make movies. It feels like him personally revealing a lot of things that he loves about himself. Kind of like when you have something like a collection and you're really excited to show someone, and then you show them your collection and they're like, wow, I didn't expect that you'd have this, and wow, this is cool. Like, that's what this is like. So, we have a surf and turf, a filet mignon, which represents Brad Pitt because he's the star of the show, and then salmon. Obviously, a surf and turf is a dish where there's two meats that pair together. So there you go. With a side of grilled cheeses. And I don't know how to describe this movie, but it felt like they were giving us so much without giving us like a million different characters. They would just have these different vignettes and these different scenes, and they would give you these really surprising feelings and these presents and these really cool acting moments. And then you have a side of homemade potato chips. You have a side of homemade heaping mashed potatoes. And then you have a big side of green beans, too. And then, now, on the downside, you have a virgin pina colada, which really, if you're going to drink a pina colada, you might as well drink an alcoholic one. I mean, come on. And it's so small, and that represents, obviously, Sharon Tate. She basically should have only been in a little bit of the movie. I don't care if she's a female, and if, feminism. Her character is not important to the story. Well, she is, but she isn't. She is in the end, but she isn't to where you need to have all these different scenes. And so then I have a bowl of every different ice cream flavor ever invented. And that represents the soundtrack. With this movie, I really felt like I was just getting these big scoops of ice cream, just boom, boom, scoop after scoop, and just eating it all in this nice sort of summer feeling where you're eating that cold ice cream and it's melting. You have to eat it all before it melts. You get a bunch of different flavors, different things that you like. That's what I felt like when I watched this movie with the soundtrack. The soundtrack would just constantly change and give you more and more and more until finally you're like, God, I can't eat anymore. And then finally, some chocolate mints. And now that might come as a surprise to you, but there are some surprises at the end. And those are some big old chocolate mints. And when you see the surprises, you'll know. The only thing I would really say is more in the spoiler section. There is something near the end that I didn't like, or at the end that I didn't like. I'll talk about that in full detail because I love you guys. Now, please, I'd like you to subscribe to my channel, and please enjoy all the rest of the videos on our channel. And so, with this movie, yeah, it's hard to talk about too because there's just so many different aspects and so many different things. And I mean, really, you can talk about Leo and Brad Pitt, but it's hard to talk about really anything else because you just have to see it to understand. It's so personal and it's so heartwarming, and it's a great historical movie too. It has a lot of historical accuracy, which I appreciated. And I think a lot of people who didn't like this movie, they simply didn't like it because it didn't give them what they wanted. And now that's another thing I wanted to touch on really quick. This movie did a great job at subverting expectations at certain points. There were some things I expected to happen, things I wanted to happen, and they didn't. But other things happened, and the other things were actually better. And you know what? That's fine if something does that once in a while. This is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's some original project, and it really surprises you at some points and subverts what you thought would happen. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you'll stick around to watch my spoiler discussion video. I hope Safi gets to see this movie as well, because she would love the soundtrack, especially on the big screen, and she would love the comedy and the character moments. So, goodbye everybody, I'll see you soon.